We have proffers that from gang members, and some on the indictment, some not, that Mr. Williams is the leader of the gang. He directs the gang activity. This gang, as you can see through the indictment, there are numerous murders, there are numerous armed robberies, there are numerous attempted murders, shootings. Just like, again, I spoke about the Gaudis, about the criminal gang, mafia families out of New York. The bosses themselves never got their hands dirty. The position here is, Judge, is Mr. Williams directs and has directed all of these individuals, Judge. And he recruits people continuously, Judge. We have a proffer, Judge, even from the mother of one of the defendants in this indictment, who told us that Mr. Williams does the community events in order to recruit more people, that her son was recruited by money, shoes, clothes, because they didn't have anything. And now her son's, by her statement, is in jail for the rest of his life. And that's that's the mother from one of the defendants on this case. Judge, Mr. Williams essentially is YSL. Everybody else is a follower. There are leaders. We said Mr. Kitchens, Mr. Greer, they are also leaders. But the leader, the top dog, the most dangerous man here is Jeffrey Williams, because he doesn't have to get his hands dirty. He has others to do his business. Judge, in an analogy, you found the others danger to the community, danger to commit additional felonies. And I would say, of the least of them, you found them dangerous. This is the most of them. This is the one that you see the shadow in the back of the room. He's the one directing traffic. He is the one they're all afraid of. He's the one that's King Slime. He's pulling the shots. He is the most dangerous of the 28, Judge. And I implore you not to grant him a bond. He is dangerous. The setup they've given to you is actually going to be less control, not more. If he gets a burner, Judge, and the court may know this, a lot of the communications that Mr. Williams is on FaceTime, because it's not traceable, it's not trackable. And we know that to be their MO. He gets a burner, he gets in there, he runs his gang from inside, and he won't get that, and no one's going to throw his cell. I know what the investigator said, with all due respect. That's not the jail, that's their job. It's not the job of 24 officers being paid by Mr. Williams. That's not their job. The job is the sheriff of Fulton County or any other sheriff where our sheriff decides to put Mr. Williams. That's their job. He is dangerous. And I normally don't do this, but I don't hesitate in this case. Respectfully, Judge, I believe if you give him a bond, we're going to have more witnesses in danger or going to be missing. I believe he's that dangerous, Judge. Judge, I will also say that we have taken proffers from fellow gang members from Mr. Williams. Some are on this indictment, some are not. They have stated uniformly that Mr. Williams is dangerous. They are afraid of him, that if they cross him, he will kill them and their family. And they were very clear about that. And for the court's knowledge also is, and it was talked about, and I don't know the court's intent, so I'm going to address it one way and the court can inform me otherwise, is we have two things here. We have the indictment charged that I understand they're seeking a bond on, and then we have a separate case. That separate case is 22 CP 208957. That is the arrest of Mr. Williams on May 9th, 2022. And that is the one where in his house there are drugs all over the house. There are weapons all over the house. One of the weapons has been modified to be a fully automatic weapon. Mr. Williams is talking about how important his children are. To my belief, Judge, one of his children was there present in the house. And these guns aren't locked up. They're out. I do not believe a cruelty to children charge was filed, but I believe the evidence certainly would have supported it, Judge. Judge, there was a sawed-off shotgun or a sawed-off illegal dangerous weapon. There was an automatic weapon. The court was already informed by Mr. Steele about how much marijuana was there. When the police arrived, one of the individuals tried to flee the house. It was obvious what was in the house and what was about to happen, so one of them decided to run. And I'll be fair, that was not Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams did not attempt to run. Judge, I want to say, and I told Mr. Steele I would do it this way, since the last time I was in front of the court, we have evidence and information of even more threats to our witnesses. But I want to be clear, I have no evidence directly that Mr. Williams made a threat or directed anybody to make a threat. But our witnesses in this case are being threatened with violence, serious violence, and death. Again, I have no direct evidence that Mr. Williams has done this or was involved in that. What I can tell the court is Mr. Williams is the head of YSL, and the S doesn't stand for stoner, it stands for slime. It's Young Slime Life. Judge, this gang, and I call it that because that's what it is by definition under Georgia law, this criminal street gang pre-existed the label record. So as a spin-off, he used YSL again and substituted one of the words. I believe he does have a clothing line. Like I said, I believe many of the crime families get into legitimate businesses, and I believe Mr. Williams has done no different. Judge, I want to say this too, contrary to what Mr. Steele said. He has always appeared. No, he hasn't. When he was arrested, he had an FTA. Now, I will say, and be honest to the court, I believe it was for a traffic offense. But then the logic is, if he's willing to blow off a traffic offense with no recourse, I think he'd surely think about blowing this one off if he's looking like things aren't going well. So he did have an FTA, and it was current on his arrest, which was 9 May of this year.
When was the FTA from?
When was it from?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I can't answer that question. I apologize.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Steele put up that there's no evidence he's done drugs. You know, he's had these drug testing. Everyone knows we listen to jail calls. We've got a call from Mr. Williams at Cobb County that he needs help for his drugs and he needs to detox. He needs drug help. That's on a jail call. So that's directly from Mr. Williams. So that's not accurate. If you're not considering that today with the indictment, as I understand the motion, then he's already on a no bond for 2 of the Ayala factors. Your Honor, count 1 alleges racketeering, and it basically alleges that the enterprise, if you will, for the racketeering is a criminal street gang as defined by Georgia law. That criminal street gang is a gang called YSL. That's Young Slime Life. Young Slime Life has a reputation, if you will, both inside and outside the court system. Your Honor, I'm going to go through some of the things in the indictment just to let the court know. Mr. Williams, in Act 4, which is from 9/9/13, had a stolen firearm on him. Now, I will say I believe his counsel was, in fact, Mr. Steele, and that act was to a pretrial. So it is not a conviction, but it is still a predicate act under Georgia law. He did possess a stolen weapon. I will say there's a Act 9 on 4/20/14. It is a song. The name is EWW, and in it, basically, the defendant says, all I ever wanted was the money. Basically, if you mess with me, you go into a wheelchair. That's what that one says. Your Honor, we have other, and I'll leave some of the social media, I'll handle that generically for the most part, but we have numerous social media posts where the defendant is in what I would call gang colors, flashing gang signs with his fellow gang members, some of which are his co-defendants on this indictment. And on those, they are, on the videos, they are replete with gang statements, gang hand signs, threats, etc., Judge. And again, they're listed in the indictment. Judge, the murder of Donovan Thomas that we've spoken a few times, that's basically Act 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. In that series of acts, in Act 16, the state can prove that, or I will say this, it's the state's contention that the car used in that murder was a car rented personally by Mr. Williams just days before. And evidence will come in concerning the beef between Mr. Williams and Mr. Donovan Thomas that involves another well-known rapper and how that gentleman's career was going to go. And Mr. Thomas and Mr. Williams had a serious disagreement about that, which led to Mr. Thomas's untimely death. Your Honor, on Act 25 from January 25th, 15, we have a conversation. A conversation is an electronic digital form where the defendant states sacrifices must be made, soldiers must fall in order for battle to be won. And then it goes on to talk about everyone has to line up between all the sex, money, murder, which is a subset of blood, which basically YSL comes under, that they must all line up under one of 5 leaders, and they must do so immediately. And that is again from Mr. Williams. Your Honor, on 126...
Is that in a, you said that's in a digital
It's
format?
in a digital format, yes, Judge.
Is it a conversation? Tell me the context.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. It's a conversation?
It is, I believe it's in the form of a group chat where Mr. Williams is putting this out to many, but to his crew.
And when did this occur?
This occurred on 125-15, Judge.
Okay.
Okay, now the next day, 126-15, remember, now let me take you back again already. On 110-15 was the murder of Donovan Thomas here in Atlanta, Fulton County. Okay, so approximately 16 days later, Mr. Williams releases a video. And he's basically stating, or doesn't basically state, I should be quoting, is that he basically says, if anybody goes into a courtroom and tells the God's honest truth, and pardon my language, they need to get fucking killed. And again, that's only 16 days after the murder of Donovan Thomas. And that was a threat that still is being talked about by some of his own gang members and some of our witnesses as to what will happen to them if they continue to cooperate. Your Honor, on 7/7/15 in DeKalb County, Mr. Williams made a threat when he threatened a head of security from Perimeter Mall. And I will tell you that DeKalb County dismissed the case. They thought the threat to be conditional. I don't have that requirement as a predicate in a RICO count. So the terroristic threat resolved or formed from Mr. Williams and his associates entering the mall on those 2-wheel hoverboards, and the mall told them they weren't allowed to have them. They informed mall security that to F off, they could do whatever they wanted to do. You can't tell them what to do. Mall security followed them out to the vehicle to inform them that they now have a trespass warning and they have to leave. As the officer, who is now a certified police officer, told Mr. Williams that they can't come back in, Mr. Williams, identified by this now officer, told the officer, if you don't back off, I'm going to shoot you in the face. At that time, the officer, or the security guard then, did back off. They have pictures on the scene of Mr. Williams and of the car. The next one is going to be Act 60 of the indictment, which is on 3/25/16. It is a music video entitled Slime Shit. And it talks about YSL shit, killing 12 shit, 12 being a euphemism for police officers. Fuck a jail shit. I'm a VIP and got a pistol on my hip. Again, and you know, I took what Mr. Lau said, and I don't disagree with him. If we have someone singing these kind of lyrics and isn't living this lifestyle before they sing about it, I don't think that's a crime. That's not the case here. We're basically singing lyrics about what they're doing. The fact that Mr. Lyles isn't aware of what his business partner is doing is the other issue. In that song it goes, again, fuck the police, fuck the judge, mob life. On 9/24/17, Act 68, I believe 69, 70, 71, and 72, Your Honor. This is a act out of Brookhaven Police Department that Mr. Steele spoke of, where Mr. Kitchens and Mr. Williams were stopped in a car based on a traffic violation, and a stolen weapon was found in the vehicle, and methamphetamine with intent to distribute, hydrocodone with intent to distribute, marijuana with intent to distribute, and a criminal street gang charge arose from that. And the interesting thing on that is when the officer asked Mr. Williams' name, the response from Mr. Williams was, I'm a superstar, can't take me to jail. The officer did. I think Mr. Williams discovered there that that didn't work. Your Honor, on Act 73, on 12/30/17, Mr. Williams appeared in a video. It was called Original Slime Shit, with lyrics, murder gang shit, YSL till you're dead and pale. Act 74 is a music video on 4/12/18 where Mr. Williams states or sings, I never killed anybody, but I got something to do with that body. That would be our position, is that as the leader of this criminal street gang, Mr. Williams probably has never killed anybody. I don't know that to be true or not, but he probably has others do it for him, as we understand the evidence, Judge.
When was that Act 74 music video?
Which one, Judge? I'm sorry.
Act 74, you said.
Act 74
The one you
was
just told us about.
4/12/18, Judge.
Okay.
And again, the way, as we addressed it in our evidence, Judge, we essentially addressed that as a confession by a party opponent. Now, in Act 75, Judge, which is another traffic event in DeKalb County, it's on 5/18/18. In prior songs, the defendant sings that he travels with snipers, he travels with a dangerous gang, you can't mess with his people. In this, it was a traffic stop, two vehicles speeding down the road. Officer stopped them for speeding. Mr. Williams was driving the lead car in a Porsche. I do not believe any weapons or any drugs were found in that car. And Mr. Williams indicated to the officer that the people behind him worked for him. The people behind him stated that they worked for Mr. Williams. In that car were 4 individuals, some prior felons, and they were armed to the teeth to include a fully loaded 30-round mag with an AK-47. I do not believe Mr. Williams got any charge other than a traffic ticket at that time. Again, no weapons were found on him and no drugs were found on him. Your Honor, on Act 78 from 1/15/19, It's a video called Bad Boy. Now, understand, at a point, Mr. Williams got into a beef, if you will, with another rapper by the name of Rayshawn Bennett, also known as YFN Lucci. At some point, Lucci's mother was shot at, and the song comes out with Bad Boy that says, let's see, you better watch the way you breathe around me, for that breath be your last, boy. Smith & Wesson 45 put a hole in his heart, better not play with me. Killers, stay with me. I shot at his mommy, now he no longer mention me. Again, we believe that Mr. Williams doesn't sing about random theoretical acts. He sings about gang acts that he's a part of or his gang participates in. Following that, Your Honor, in the same year, Act 96 on 8/8/19, Mr. Williams posted on Instagram I guess a post, if you will. It said, if'n, or YFN, if ain't like what you do for your mother and your kids, I would have killed you. And that was tagging YFN Lucci. Now, I'll go back and I'll get to that later, but this year, a YSL member attempted to kill Mr. Rayshawn Bennett, aka YFN Lucci, at the Fulton County Jail. That's on video as well. And we can tie that to the gang, and I'll get to that later. Your Honor, on Act 97 from 9/16/19, Mr. Williams posted a video called Just How It Is. There were lyrics in that one as well.
What number is that, sir?
97, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
And it said, last N-word tried me, almost got popped at Lennox. Asked the cops, asked the detectives, they know all the business. Asked the cops and the detective all the jurisdictions. Gave the lawyer close to $2 million. He handles all the killings. Mob business. We know to kill the biggest cats of all the kittens. Also, it should be noted that it's alleged that Mr. Donovan Thomas was the head of the Inglewood family criminal street gang at the time. And irrespective of his position that he might have had in a gang or not in a gang, Mr. Thomas didn't deserve to get gunned down on the road in Atlanta. Position, our Act 102 judge from 3/12/20. Mr. Jeffrey Williams is in a conversation with Mr. Huey, also a defendant in this indictment. Now let me set this up, Judge. And you heard part of this last time, that there was the theft of a car by someone in the gang, Mr. Huey, and it belonged to I believe, a manager of Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams was upset to find out that it was, and he basically texted his folks to say, give it back. Okay? Now, in that, he responds to Mr. Huey, says, if he don't take it back, he gonna die. Followed that, Mr. Huey basically was begging for his life in the conversation. It's very clear that he believed that statement by Mr. Williams. In Act 127, Your Honor, from 2/4/21, Mr. Williams is in a conversation with other defendants listed on the indictment, where he stated, YSL rule the world, kid. 24 million on an N-word's head. Y'all just start bringing me the money. Man, y'all stop playing with me. That was in reference to gang activity and basically evidence that he is in charge and all the money goes to and flows through Mr. Williams. On Act 130 from 4/16/21, Judge, there's a social media post titled Slatty, S-L-A-T-T-Y, lyrics stating, I killed this man in front of his mama, I guess sister and his cousin. I shoot out, kill him, not leave a trace. It says, you think you a gangster, you got a pistol, look at my trigger start itching. YSL, we going overboard. And again, YSL is a direct reference to Young Slime Life, the criminal street gang. Act 131 on 4/16 of 21. There's a video released called Ski, S-K-I, with lyrics stating, "I fuck with slats," slacks being basic slang, life's forever. "We come to eat rats. I came with some piranhas. I tote an FN," a reference to a handgun. And in that one, which is interesting, Judge, which you'll hear in the evidence of this case, is this is a hybrid gang. This gang isn't pure Bloods. There are rolling 60s in it, Crips. There are 30 deep. It is a combination of many different gangs to form this gang. In Act 132 from 5/13/21, Judge, a conversation where Williams asks the others in the conversation, "Y'all ain't beat 'em up or shot 'em yet? Y'all N-word getting soft." And I believe that's directing the activity of the gang to stand up for the reputation of the gang and not be disrespected. In Acts 150, Mr. Huey, which I spoke of earlier, had gotten out of jail. He had communicated with Mr. Williams, basically stating, and this is Mr. Huey, "You know I'm ready to handle the business and go sit down if I got to about any one of y'all on my mama." Sit down is a reference by the gang, is I'm willing to go to prison for you, I'm willing to do time for you. In Act 155 from 12/31/2021,
What date was that? I'm sorry, one more time.
I apologize, Judge.
What date and
12/31/21, Judge.
that's predicate act, right?
It's an overt act, Judge. There was a photo released by Mr. Williams with him wearing a YSL pendant with basically with taking his finger under his nose like this, Judge, which is a gang sign from YSL. That's one of their signs. When we watch the videos, you'll see that a lot, Judge. Judge, in Act 156 from 1/16/22, defendant released a video, and why we think this is important, Judge, is because the gang signs mostly done by Mr. Williams are YSL gang signs, Young Slime Life. They may argue that it's Young Stoner Life, but in this video, Mr. Williams flashed a Bloods sign. Not a YSL sign, a Bloods gang sign. He's also got a photograph where he's got a red B right about here on his chest, Judge, which is a common Bloods tattoo. On 3/9/22 in Act 172, Williams posed for a photograph with the caption, "Slat Business YSL 4L for Life."